sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is Buddha, the Enlightened One. We celebrated Lord Buddha's birthday on last Monday, and it was the full moon day, and it is called Thrice Blessed Day because he was born on that particular day, on that particular full moon day, had his illumination. That means he realized his true self, which is called Nirvana. And that was also on that particular day. And also he passed away, left his body again on that particular day. So this day is known as Thrice Blessed Day. Probably it will remain eternally in the Guinness World Book because nobody will be able to match that. He was born in the year 560. Some people say, that means most of the scholars believe that he was born in the year 560 before Christ. And he was born as a prince. And his father was a titular king in a sense, of a small kingdom. And his name was Shuddhadan and his mother's name was Mayavati. And he was born, as I told you, on this auspicious day. And when he was born, his father, being a king, thought that he will be a nice, he will adorn the throne after his passing away. So naturally he was curious about his future. So he called one of the royal astronomer, and he said that please check the horoscope and tell me what is in the future of this young prince. So the astronomer saw everything, and not only that, he consulted others also. And then he came to the conclusion that, well, if he stays in the life of a householder, that means he marries and lives a normal life, then he will be a very well-known king. That means will definitely be respected king, and he will advance his kingdom, and all those things will be there. But there is a sign that if somehow or other he knows the sorrows of the world, there is a possibility that will quit. That means will become a monk, and then he will become a great spiritual leader. So there are two options. So naturally, fathers do not want their son to become a bigger monk. So what Shuddhadan did, he actually made a big palace, a retreat type of place, where several palaces were built. And people, or young people of his age, were asked to live. And his teachings and all those things were made there. That means he was not allowed to go out to see the world. So in that way, actually, he grew up. Grew up means for a long time, actually, he was in that retreat. And he married, he was given to marriage, and then ultimately a son was also born. All those things happened in that secluded area. But once, when he was born, his name was given Siddhartha, and he asked his father that, well, you are grooming me to be a king, but I do not know my subjects. So I need to know my subjects whom I shall rule. And the father said that, thought that yes, this is a legitimate question, a legitimate desire. But at the back of his mind, that point was also there, that if he sees the sorrows of the world, then something will happen. So he ordered that everything should be made perfect. That means there should be no sign of sorrow when the prince goes out. So in that way he made things ready. Everywhere there is a festivity and all those things, and in that way he was given a chance to see the world. And his favorite horse and favorite chariot, and also chariot were arranged, and the charioteer took him out, and he saw that people are very happy, saw the prince coming out, and everything was happy and gay. So, but it so happened that one after another he saw something which he never saw inside his palace. So then he asked, the scenes were that he started seeing, he first saw an old man. Old man, he was around the young people of his age, and in that way he did not have the opportunity of seeing an old man. So he was curious why that man is walking with a cane and looks so emaciated, his skins are drooping and all those things. So he said, who is that? What has happened to him? So his friend and charioteer, he said that, well, that is an old man. So everybody will become old as the time passes, so we too also will become old. In that way he explained that old age is inevitable once one has taken birth. So that actually made me thoughtful. I have never seen this type of thing, I never thought of that. Then after going further away, actually he went out 4 days. In 4 days, actually one after another he saw. Second day, actually he saw one person who is diseased. Diseased in a sense, he was in a corner, probably on the in front of a house, and he was just wailing and just suffering, and people are looking after him. And he said that why that man is doing like that. So Chandak told that well, that man has got some disease. That is why people are taken care of, because of pain. The disease actually is wailing that way. Then he came to know about that there are diseases in this world. He said that Chandak told that people sometimes fall ill, their illness. So that actually struck again Siddhartha. He thought that, well, there is something which I did not know. Then actually he went out on the third day when he saw a person being carried away on the shoulder of a few persons. So he asked Chandak, what has happened to that person? Why he is lying on a bed and people are carrying him away, and on the back people are crying, what has happened to that person? He said that that man has died. And he is being taken to the cremation ground. He will be cremated, his body will be put into the fire and he will be cremated. And Siddhartha asked, will that happen to everybody? He said that yes. Chandak said yes, that is the inevitable thing that everybody will have to face. That means once we are born, we shall die. That again made me very thoughtful. So we have to die. Then fourth day when he went out, he saw a monk in a worker robe with a begging bowl, going from home to home, asking for food. So he asked, who is that man? Chandak told that that man is a monk, he has renounced everything in search of the solution of these problems of this world. That means this disease, old age, death, and all those things are always haunting people. So he wants to find a solution. That means he wants to get rid of that. And that is why he has renounced everything. He doesn't live in a family, or he doesn't have any household. And he prays or he does some spiritual practices for this solution. That actually struck in his mind. So all these 4 scenes actually changed Buddha forever. When he came to his palace back, he found that he has his wife and a child was born. He thought that, well, if these are the problems that I have to face and the whole world is, everybody will have to face, I need to find a solution for that. So then that actually deeply moved him. He thought that probably that person whom I saw last is the right person whom I need to follow. So stealthily one night, when his son was just born, that means the wife was sleeping with the baby, and then he thought that, well, slowly I'm getting into I'm being entrapped in the family life. I shall not get a chance to find the solution of this problem that is haunting me. So he asked his charioteer that to make a horse ready. And then he said that, well, let us go. So at the dead of night, actually, the two of them rode a horse and went out of the kingdom. The kingdom was really small, so after galloping several miles, actually, they went out of the kingdom. Then he asked Chandra, that means that charioteer who had accompanied him. He was a very friendly person. He said that, well, you take away all these dress and all these ornaments that I have. And he gave to him and told that you just tell my father that Siddhartha has renounced everything. And he has gone to find a solution for this problem about how to get rid of the sorrow of the world. Chandra, what to say, because this is prince's words, so he had to follow. So he came and announced to his father. And by that time, actually, Siddhartha started walking towards east. And there are some kings there whom he knew, they are friendly. And one of the kings, his name was Bimbisar. He was of his age and friendly, and he saw that Siddhartha, he saw that one monk, a beggar type of person is walking in the street. From his window, he saw that this person seems to be known. So he found out that this is Siddhartha. So he called him and said that, well, what has happened to him? Have you gone mad? So he started pleading with him. That means if you do not like your kingdom, come here, I shall give a share of my kingdom. All those things he said and enticed him. But ultimately Siddhartha said that, well, no, I have made my mind for finding a solution of the sorrows of this world. So Bimbisar said, probably you have gone mad, but okay, if you find out a solution, plus come to me and I shall listen to you and follow you. So that actually satisfied both, and then actually proceeded. We see that Siddhartha was very sincere, and in those days there are many teachers, so he met two teachers, and those two teachers actually taught him. One teacher told him that by seeing that he is a prince and all those things, he was very much happy that a disciple has come with such wealthy, and so he enticed him that, well, you become my disciple and do practice as I say, then ultimately when I die you will get all the disciples and you will be head of my center. In that way he enticed him. He practiced what he said, but he thought that it is not exactly what he wanted. Then he left him and went to another teacher. He also in a similar way told his practices, and he did that. All those things actually did not work for him. And in the meantime, it so happened that when the people came to know in his kingdom that he has princess left for this reason, 5 of his friends actually thought that we shall follow him. Let us go and see what is happening, and we shall follow him. They met him, and actually all of them, that means 6 of them, started walking in search of solution for this problem. And ultimately they started doing rigorous austerities. That means not eating food and all sorts of doing meditation for a long time, all those things. And in that way their health actually broke down. And Siddhartha, it so happened that when he used to meditate, he used to faint. That means instead of doing meditation, he was mostly unconscious because of fainting. And he was doing that, but there is no other way. In those days, actually, that was the only solution. Solution means that is the only practice that was being practiced that they knew. Ultimately, he thought that, well, let me try by myself. So by that time, they reached on the bank of a river which is known as Pholgu River nowadays. In those days, it used to be called Niranjana. It is in the Bihar state, that means near Gaya. Gaya is a well-known place of pilgrimage of Hindus since long. During his time also it was there. So outskirt of that place, he sat under a tree and started doing his spiritual practice. And that means he said that, well, let me try myself. Whatever I learned and whatever I understand, let me try. So in that way he was doing, and then again that problem was there, that he could not really proceed in his meditation and very sick and all those things. And by that time, one girl, who was a cowherd girl, saw him. And she thought, out of her superstition or whatever, maybe probably the tree god is sitting there, and she wanted to propitiate for some boon like that. So she came running to her home and said that, well, please, told her mother that please give me some food. So mother prepared some rice pudding and gave to her, and she came and then placed in front of Buddha. He has not become Buddha, he was Siddhartha, and just waited there for some time. Then Siddhartha thought that, well, I am so weak that I cannot do meditation. Let me eat a little bit of this rice pudding, get a little strength, and then I shall continue my meditation. And his 5 compatriots who were along with him saw that, well, he has broken the vow. So they actually quit him. That means they did not want to follow him because he has broken the vow. But it so happened that when he ate that payasam, that means a little bit of that food, he felt very nice. That means he got back his strength, if you call it, and then actually he sat in meditation. And it is said that on that particular night, when he ate that little bit of payasam, that means rice pudding, and he had his illumination. Illumination means he found the solution of the problem for which actually he had quit. And that was almost 6th year of his renunciation that he had that illumination. And it is said that he wanted to verify that whether he has got the right thing. And it is said that for 49 days, one after another, that means he practiced that meditation, and he confirmed, that means he was convinced that what he has got actually is the solution for the problem for which actually he has renounced. And that is called nirvana according to this Buddhist literature. And then once he got it, so he became Buddha. Buddha means the enlightened one. That means who has the highest realization in his life. So he thought that now I know the solution, so I need to guide people so that they can also follow this method, and ultimately they can get rid of the problem of this life, end up sorrows. So with that intention he started walking back towards west. And in those days, Varanasi, or Kashi as it is called, was a great place for learning, a meeting place, business place also, that many people came there. He thought that probably that will be the best place to start my teaching. So he started walking, and when he started walking towards Kashi, we see that those 5 friends who actually had left him just saw him, and they met him, and they saw Buddha. That means they knew how he was, but some strange thing has happened to him. They could easily figure out. Then they said that, what has happened to you? Why do you look so gracious and so charming and all those things that in your appearance? Then he said that, well, I have found the solution of the problem for which actually we have renounced. Then they asked, what is that? Then Buddha taught them that this is the problem that we have, and that this is a solution that I have found out. So they become the first disciples that we see. Ultimately he came to Varanasi, but he did not enter into the city. He was about a few miles away, a place called Mrigodao. Mrigodao means a forest of deers. There he sat down. And it is said that in those days, nowadays we see that people are jogging and cycling and all those things. In the morning, one merchant actually went there for a walk, probably for his health reason. And he found him, and he was also very much impressed by seeing him. So then after conversation, he found that this person is a very knowledgeable person, and people will be benefited by meeting him and taking instructions. So he announced in the city that a person has come here and he will give you teaching. And in that way, he started his first sermon there. That means it is said that Buddha taught first time in that place. About 40 or 50 persons were there, and in that way his mission started. Later on we see that he moved all through the northern part of India. When he had his illumination, he was about 35 years old. At that age of 29, he had left, and then for 6 years he struggled, and then at 35 he got illumination. And then after illumination, he thought, I have to share all those things, so started moving from one place to another. And his routine was like this. He used to go to a place, and in the morning he used to bake his food, and also he has his following by that time, and they also used to bake food, and they used to sit, and then people used to come and he used to teach them. He had a very regulated life, that means discipline and all those things. And also that prince who was his friend, he also came and he became his disciple, Bimbisara. And in that way, other princes also became his disciples, and ordinary people also become disciples. And they are in that way, if we read his life story, it is very beautiful, and not only beautiful, illuminating and interesting. That means different types of people, how they came, and in what way Buddha taught them, and what Buddha taught them. All those things are very well recorded. That means they are called suttas. That means sermons are called suttas, and in that way they have compiled a book which is known as, there is a name for that, and that book is considered to be the what is called the largest religious book of teachings of any spiritual teacher, because Buddha lived for 80 years, 45 years actually he taught. No other spiritual personality actually lived that long. So naturally collection of his teachings are quite very large. Tripitaka, the name of the book is Tripitaka, and it is written in Pali language. In those days, language was like this. He taught in Pali or Prakrita as it is called. It is a little bit different from Sanskrit, but those who know Sanskrit, they can easily understand that language also. So all were collected, and ultimately they were preserved. And it is said that if the books are compiled, probably it will be about 20,000 pages, that large book. And that is being translated and as they are found, and it has been translated in many languages, and it is still being translated. I had the opportunity of meeting one Buddhist monk who is in Berkeley actually, an American Buddhist monk, and I asked that, well, do you have an English translation of the whole of this Tripitaka? He said, no sir, it is not still being translated, it is not complete yet. The reason is this, that means after Buddha, we see after 1,000 years, Buddhism actually was almost eliminated from India. So all the things are scattered all over the Asia, Tibet and other countries. So they actually preserved them in their in their monasteries, and they studied, and in that way they preserved them. But they did not share them, or whatever, there's an opportunity or whatever reason, actually they did not come out. But nowadays actually they are systematically studied and translated and being published. And just to make the story of Lord Buddha short, it is like this. Lord Buddha, at the end of his life, he went to a place called Kushinagar. I have some pictures, a lot of pictures and all those things are available on internet, so I collected a few which is relevant to our talk. I shall show you at the end. So in Kushinagar, it is said that he took the hospitality of a ironsmith. He was his disciple and very sincere person, so he invited him for food at his home. And he ate the food, and when he tasted, actually he said that, well, we throw away this food because this is not really, others will not be able to digest it. So it was done, and then because that food was contaminated, he fell ill. And that illness actually took his life. It is said that when he fell ill, he told his attendant, his name was Anand, who was a cousin also. So he said that, well, he just made a bed on the side of a river, and I shall lie down here. And if you have any question, that means Buddha always confronted any type of question put by his disciples, his monks, and also what is called unknown persons. They were allowed to approach him personally. So even during this illness, when he was suffering from this colic pain, as it is called, the one person from long distance came with some questions. Ananda said that, well, the Buddha is now very sick. How actually we can approach him? But he actually listened the conversation from a distance and said that, well, Ananda, allow him to come. And in that way, at the last moment of his life also, he gave him teachings. So the point is that he was so not only sincere, but he was sympathetic to every person to solve their problems, that even at the time of his death, he actually taught. And in this way, within a few days, actually, his what is called last moment came. Then he asked all the disciples who were around, said that, well, Atma Dipo Bhavo, that means be your own light. That was his last advice to everybody. The interpretation of this advice is that try yourself for your own salvation. Don't depend on others. That is the best advice or greatest advice that can be given to a student. So in that way, he actually passed away. And after his passing away, as you know, that the kings and all those people were there, so he was cremated, and all his belongings and all those things, they are also shared in that way. In many, many places, those mementos were made into big memorial things, stupa as it is called, and in that way it was scattered all over the places where he had traveled, and not only that, it traveled later on to many, many countries outside India also. So the point is this, that Buddha had the great opportunity of teaching for a long time, but his teachings are really very short. Short in a sense, that means he said that first you need to know that there is sorrow. If you think that life is a bed of roses forever, it will not happen. You have to convince yourself that yes, there is sorrow in the life, and all the things that are there, even if it at present looks very lucrative and enjoyable, ultimately it will be reduced into sorrow. Then there are causes of sorrow. So if you analyze what is the reason of the sorrow, you will find that there is certain reason for this sorrow. Then what he received in his spiritual practice, that there is cessation of sorrow. Sorrow can be overcome. And for that actually he expounded for 8 paths, that means 8 steps are there, or 8, it is called, 8 paths are there by which actually sorrow can be overcome. So what were they? First is called Sammadrishti, that means a right view or understanding, the knowledge of suffering. That means there are, you have, as I told you, the first thing that you have to know that there is suffering, and then there is the cessation of suffering, and these are steps that there. You have to understand that that is the right view of understanding. Then it is called Samma Sankalpa, that means you have to observe right thought, you have to think in a proper way, that means your thought has to be organized, that you can purify your mind. So for that, disciplines and all those things are necessary, passions, lust, malice, and what is called cruelty, all those things need to be tackled. And also there has to be a determination that I shall reach the goal, that means I shall reach the truth. Then Samma Vachan, right speech. Buddha actually himself was, it is said that his speech was so attractive or so illuminating that by listening him, actually people got attracted to him. Not only listening, by seeing him also, it is said that people used to get attracted to him. He was his personality was so attractive, and also people followed that. So he said right speech, that means honest in thought and words, and refraining from lying, backbiting and all those things, idle gossiping, word of kindness, toleration, no slander or insult, all those things. he said that these are the origin. If you do not follow, actually that will cause problem. If you actually follow this, actually problems will be less in your life. Then samma kammo, that means right action. He prohibited his disciples to kill any animal. So there are stories. Swami Vivekananda has told that he was ready to give his life for the sake of a goat. In those days, sacrifice was very common among the Hindus. That is, they offered some animal in front of a deity, and they thought that is a very religious act they have done. So all those things were there. So one day he met a person who was going to offer a goat. So he said that, where are you going? So he said that I am going to offer this goat in the temple so that I can gain something, or I can get what is called some merit, spiritual merit. He said that, well, you release the goat, you better take me. And because I am a human being, probably your merit will be much more. So in that way he offered himself. So in that way he used to impress people. Then ajivika, that means certain livelihood also, he said that is not good, so he prescribed a livelihood. He said that not to earn livelihood by compromising conduct, by any kind of deceit or exploitation. He did not like trade in arms and trade in intoxication and all those things he did not like, so that had to be taken care of. Then samma vyayama, that means right effort, practice of generosity, moral integrity, so that is called discipline, certain amount of discipline, he had said that is important. Then right mindfulness, that means discrimination what is good for one's body, feeling, mind, ideas, and just to develop spiritual intuition, the mindfulness is important. And finally, the meditation, samma samadhi, practice of meditation, breathing and all those things that he said that needed to be practiced. Now today I gave the title of this talk as Buddha the Enlightened One. So what is enlightenment? That is the point that I thought I shall talk to you a little bit, just so that we can comprehend what is enlightenment. Many things have been what is called research nowadays, you know. So let us start with something which we find in the life of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, you know, was a great fan of Lord Buddha. He said that, well, if he did not follow Sri Ramakrishna, or if Sri Ramakrishna did not come to him, actually he would be a follower Lord Buddha. That means from the childhood he had a great liking for Lord Buddha. And it is said that during childhood he used to practice meditation by his own effort, and once actually he had the vision of Lord Buddha, though he could not recognize. He was actually afraid of that, by seeing having that vision, so he actually fled. And then later on he cogitated that, well, probably it was Buddha who had come to me. In that way he has said. And not only there are occasions when he went to Buddha Gaya, where Lord Buddha has his illumination and had great spiritual feeling. That means emotionally he was very much overtaken at that, in that place. And he said that, he equivocally said that Buddha is the greatest person that God has ever seen. So that great respect actually he used to hold for him. Now he himself, later on we see that he became a great spiritual, and also, yes, he has said that what is this illumination? Illumination means, according to Buddhism, it is nirvana, and in our Hindu literature it is called mukti. That means in Advaita philosophy it is called liberation. So he said, there is a consciousness in mukti, that means while comparing, Buddha's philosophy said that when you enter into nirvana, everything is just like shunya. Shunya means there is nothingness. It is like that. So he gave some insight into what is that means Hinduism's liberation, and what is nirvana in Buddhism. In that way, how actually they compare, or what is their position. So there is a consciousness in mukti which we call super consciousness. It differs from our present consciousness. It is illogical to say that there is no consciousness in mukti. The consciousness is of three sorts: the dull, mediocre, and intense. We have consciousness, what is called day-to-day consciousness we have. But this consciousness which is in the, what is called the spiritual consciousness, that is called super consciousness, that he is saying. When vibration is intense, the brilliancy is so very powerful as to dazzle the sight itself, and in effect, it is as ineffectual as the dullest of lights. That means, occasionally Swami Vivekananda has given this example. That means if the vibration of light is too much, actually we shall not be able to see it because we have only limited capacity. That means certain length of vibration actually we can perceive. And if it is less, ultraviolet and what is called infrared, if you call it, we cannot see it, but there is still vibration of light. So in that way, he is saying in consciousness also there is this type of categorization. The Buddhistic nirvana must have the same degree of consciousness, whatever the Buddhists may say. Our definition of mukti is affirmative in its nature, while Buddhistic nirvana it has a negative definition. So in that way he equates these two. Then again in another place I said, they believe in the state called nirvana, which is beyond this relative world. It is exactly the same as Brahman of the Vedantis. And the whole system of Buddhists is founded upon the idea of regaining the lost state of nirvana. That means our natural state is nirvana, that means full consciousness. So we have come down, we have lost that position. In that way we are in ordinary consciousness. And all the spiritual practices is to gain to that, attain to that original position. In every system we find that this doctrine, present, that you cannot get anything which is not yours already. This is a very important what is called observation. Everybody needs to know that we cannot get anything, we cannot gain anything which we do not have from the point of view of spirituality or knowledge. When Swami Vivekananda discussed knowledge, he said that knowledge is always within ourselves and we only uncover it by our practice of concentration or by conscious practice of concentration or by when the mind gets concentrated by some method or by some way, maybe accidentally also, and in that way we get knowledge. That is the theory of knowledge that we see that Swami Vivekananda. Without anything within ourselves, actually we cannot gain it. Outside, actually there is nothing. Everything is inside. That is the point. Now, he has given a very good example and that we find about Newton. In several places he has said, there is a celebrated story that Newton, how he discovered the law of gravitation. Newton was a son of a farmer. So, and he was a good student also. So he was thinking of what is happening all around, and in that way one day he saw that an apple fell from the tree on the ground. And in that way it brought to the knowledge that there is something which attracted him. Then he searched and ultimately he discovered the law of gravitation. So the inspiration came from that and ultimately the law of gravitation came into existence. So he says that, well, all the laws of the sciences that are there, they are all actually eternal. That means they are already existing. And something comes in our mind and we are discovering them. In that way it is happening as it happened in the case of Newton. There are stories about Archimedes also, you know. Archimedes was a scientist and his king had a, what is called a crown was given, golden crown was given to him. The person who brought it, the king actually thought that probably there is something wrong with it. Probably he thought it is light or whatever it may. So he asked Archimedes, his scientist, to find out whether this crown is made really of gold. So Archimedes was thinking how to find out, how to figure out that whether this beautiful crown is made of gold. So then one day he was taking bath. In the bathtub actually he went and the water actually fell down. Then suddenly it came to his mind that in this way actually it can be found, that means this specific gravity is called. That means if it is, so if gold has certain specific gravity, and if this crown which is claimed to be of what is made of gold, if it does not have the same specific gravity, then actually it is not made of gold. So in that way he discovered that that crown was not made of what is called pure gold. Now this type of discoveries or illumination come to everybody in a small way, and that popularly is known what is called aha moment. I do not know whether you have heard that. It is very scientifically it has been really explored. So I would want to share a little bit of that. So aha moment means then sudden realization, inspiration, insight or comprehension. Swami Vivekananda himself had that. It so happened that when he was traveling for the second time, when he left for traveling through India, he wanted to go to the Himalayas. And in the foothills of the Himalayas, there is a place called Almora. And his intention was to go to the Himalayas, but he was traveling, and with him was another brother disciple. His name was Swami Akhandananda. And he actually was a well-traveled person on the Himalayas and had been to Tibet and other places, so he took him as a guide. And one day it so happened that they were staying with a devotee's house, and Swami Vivekananda went to do some meditation in a nearby place, under a people tree as it is called. And under that tree actually he meditated and then came back. And after coming back, he shared his experience with his brother disciple. So it is written in one of the on his biography that yes, he said, on the third day they stopped for a night near a windmill by the side of a stream. An aged people tree stood on the bank of the flowing stream. After his bath, the Swami repaired to the tree and sat there for about an hour, absorbed in meditation. Then he said to his companion, well, Gangadhar was the pre-monastic name of Swami Akhandananda. Here under this banyan tree, one of the greatest problems of my life has been solved. Then he told of his wonderful vision about the oneness of microcosm and macrocosm. Then what the Swami entered in a fragmentary way in his notebook on that day is given here in translation. That means what he experienced, he had a notebook where he had written down. He said, in the beginning was the word, etc. The microcosm and the macrocosm are built in the same plan. Just as the individual soul is encased in the living body, so is the universal soul in the property, that means in nature, the objective universe. So in that way actually he had the realization. Theoretically we know these words, but realization does not come in that way. He meditated, and at that time actually this realization comes. It is very celebrated example in the life of Swami Vivekananda, how actually he discovered it, and we see the effect of meditation. So naturally, we have this type of illumination in our lives in a small way, and some discoveries or scientists actually are working on that. Some of them will be very interesting, I thought I shall share with you. Most of the time, ideas develop from the steady filtration and evaluation of thoughts and feelings, but every so often, if you are lucky, a mega hit notion breaks through in a flash of insight that's as unexpected as it is blazingly clear. This is from an article in the Psychology Today, which has been reprinted, I think in a condensed form in the Reader's Digest. That means this is so popular. These revelations can be deeply personal, even existential, prompting the realization that you should quit your job, move to another city, mend a broken relationship, redirect your moral compass. Sudden revelation comes which actually is so overwhelming or overpowering that you are inclined to follow it. That means it makes you to do what you have realized. Then they can also be creative, generating a brilliant startup idea, the perfect plot point of a novel, or the answer to an engineering quandary. In all cases, you apprehend something that you were blind to before. That is the point. You are searching something, but it is not coming, so you are making effort and all those things. But suddenly, an illumination comes. Now, this is not a very recent thing. It is happening throughout the history. As we see that in the lives of the great spiritual personalities, the realization came to them. Then all the realization is so overwhelming that they change their life. That is why we have got these spiritual truths. The early 20th century psychologist William James described such moments of clarity in his book, The Varieties of Religious Experience. This is a classic book. It is still in print, and this book is a series of lectures that the father of American psychology, William James, is honored in that way. He actually mentioned this. As in his book, The Varieties of Religious Experience, as snap resolutions of the divided self, in quote. That means he used that word for this aha moment, as nowadays we call it, as divided self. There is a full chapter on that. It's as if a whole lifetime's worth of growth is compressed into a single instant, as dense as a collapsed star. So all the experiences that we have just in a sudden moment actually we'll find that is there. Now the recent developments are like this. William Miller, an emeritus professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of New Mexico, interviewed people who had experienced sudden realizations that led to life transformations. So these are small little things. We shall not become like Buddha or Christ or something, but in our own life we have this type of experiences. The point is that a test of this type of experience that they had, we can figure out that it will be like this. Most of the triggers were not so dramatic, he reported in his co-authored book, Quantum Change. People experience moments of sudden realizations and light transmission while doing very commonplace things. They reported a striking similarity, however, in how the moments felt more like a message revealed to them from outside than something their own minds had ginned up. It felt foreign, mystical even, which may explain why so many historical accounts of revelations have been interpreted as communications from the divine. In more recent years, studies of neuroscience, of insight have begun to give us clues to what they really are. So the point is this, my point rather I shall say, is this, that we have our moments of revelations. Revelations are not related to what we are doing or what we are searching or other things, but the revelation will come and the impact will be such that will be transformative in our life. Sometimes we calculate things that we do this thing, that thing, and in that way we feel that after that we shall do this. But when these revelations come, we give up everything. And then actually the transformative thing begins a new life for us. That has happened to many persons you will find in the lives of great scientists or what is called literary persons. That is quite evident. So in this way, the point is that these sudden revelations are not uncommon, and in that way, probably in the lives of Lord Buddha, it happened, and in the lives of other great spiritual persons it happened. But that's where very immense. But in our life, actually, they are small. But probably when time will come, our experience also will be something which will be very interesting. So I'd like to show something about Lord Buddha's life, as I told you. So this is Buddha, the Enlightened One, that is a statue of Lord Buddha. that is in Lumbini, where he was born. Which one? All right.
Arrow.
All right, this is Lumbini, Nepal. These places are very famous now, and many countries have their own temples built up in that place. Lumbini is on the border of Nepal. It is in Nepal, but in the border of India also. Where Lord Buddha, Siddhartha, he was born in a garden. This is Kopilavastu, that means the place where the Lord Buddha, now this is the statue of Lord Buddha in Lumbini. And this is the remnants of the place where his father, that means his Suddhodana actually, ruled Kopilavastu. The present situation. Tallest Buddhist stupa in Kesaria, that means Kushinagar. It is nowadays called Kusiya, that is still existing. And this is the holiest of the holy place, which is known as Bodh Gaya. And the tree that we see on the left side, that is not the original tree. The tree's sapling was taken to Sri Lanka, and then actually a big tree was born. And that was taken during the time of King Ashoka, who was a great propagator of Buddhist religion. So he sent his daughter as a missionary to Sri Lanka, and she took a branch of that tree and planted that, and that tree actually grew, and it is still there. And again, by that time, the original tree in India actually died. So a branch from that tree was brought in Bodh Gaya, and that was planted, and this is the present situation of that tree. This is Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya, that is the statue of Lord Buddha that is existing. And this is the Mahabodhi temple, exact temple. And this is the Dhammikastupan Sarada, where Lord Buddha gave his first sermon near Varanasi, Kashi. And there King Ashoka actually made this stupa. Stupa means a sort of, it is not exactly a temple, but a structure which is very large. Their shape is round mostly. And this is the tall statue of 80 feet, which is in Sarnath. Sarnath also is a great place of pilgrimage for Hindus as well as Buddhists definitely. And this is the very old statue of Lord Buddha, which is in the Sarnath Museum. Most probably it was made during the time of reign of King Ashoka. This is a very famous statue. And this mudra is the teaching mudra. That means Buddha has all the statues or the statues of Buddha are made with 4 positions of hands. One is like this, that means he is giving boon or giving assurance. Then another is touching the ground that we have. That is called, he is taking a vow that I have not really tempted by anybody, and as it is keeping Mother Earth as the witness. This is another, that means Spring Temple in Henan in China. So this is the statue of giving assurance, or boon if you can say. And you can see at the bottom there are 5 stories. So it is a 5-story building. Above that statue is there. And this is the largest reclaimed statue in Japan. And as I told you, that Buddha actually when he was dying, he was made a bed and he was lying down. So this is a statue of that posture. So in that way, we have these different places, different statues that is adoring Lord Buddha. And you will be surprised that though time has passed, but Lord Buddha is still very popular. And very recently also, many big statues have come up, especially in China. World's largest Buddha statue in China is 460 meters long and 68 meters wide. That means 1,365 feet long. Can you imagine? Recently made. And tallest statue is Spring Temple Buddha. It is also in China, and that is 120 feet, I think, in height. So there is a competition that this place actually has made this much statue, and that way this large statue. So in that way, the whole world is full of Buddha statues, and they are also coming in many places. So this is the Lord Buddha is very popular not only with Buddhists, but he is, because of his teachings and because of his personality, he is still very much adored by everybody who actually knows about him. And he actually inspires us to reach our goal. That is the main thing. That means that there is something which can lead us beyond sorrow. That was his teaching, and we aspire to reach that.